Wow, what a completely unexpected surprise. I got in my car to go to dinner with friends, and immediately I have to have diarrhea.
Hey, fun fans. It's We Enjoy. We're just laughing about people who kill people, murder couples. I'm just kidding. We were laughing about Jackass. Actually, there are sort of like a bunch of murder couples in there.
I was laughing about you saying I don't watch Jackass, just like The Sopranos. You were making this comparison about things.
I don't know if that was the actual quote, but I said I don't watch Jackass for the same reason I don't watch Sopranos. And
there you go.
I know I would like it all or most of it, and that it's like I know it's good for me, but I won't do it.
I don't know if Jackass is good for you, but
I just mean I'll have a good time would be had.
Yes. I just like that you were making that comparison about what are similar, Jackass and Sopranos. I was telling him that I thoroughly enjoyed Jackass Forever, which almost made me vomit multiple times while I was in theater.
And if it almost made you vomit, that means it definitely will make someone vomit.
One of the best parts is that this is like a recurring thing. There's one of their cameramen this entire time will sometimes nearly puke over the disgusting things they're doing. So he's back, and now he's wearing a mask for COVID, trying not to puke. Guys, it's a great movie.
Man, I hope when he does puke, it's kind of like Mr. Creosafe from Monty Python's Meaning of Life, and it's just to stream into a bucket.
That's the closing credits of the final movie.
We are the Mattitude. We are the Mattitude, Eric. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello. Eric, Jackass Forever, Goldman.
Hello. I'm a casual Jackass fan, guys, but it was something. That's what I'm saying.
For the casuals out there, you can be a casual.
I don't know all the lore.
The Jackass cinematic universe.
That's right. Don't try to quiz me on all the Jackass.
Well, I was telling Eric before he hit record that I wasn't a avid watcher of this show, and I haven't seen any of the movies. I don't think I would necessarily need that back catalog to enjoy Jackass Forever. I think I through context clues throughout the years I got it. I understand what's going on with the Jackass. But
although the funny thing is that arguably Jackass Forever is a legacy sequel, a decade after the last one, that introduces a bunch of young new jackasses that can take over the franchise. So.
Which one is Ghostface though?
I can't tell you.
And then everything that Eric described to me off air here makes me also more amused that WWE is choosing to partner with the movie.
I was telling you, I can say it. I don't think I've ever seen a major studio film being released, wide release, with this much explicit male nudity, like close up of every part of the male anatomy is throughout this.
Wait do you see Nope?
All right, maybe.
Okay. I
Paddington 3.
In Paddington 3. When do you see the reboot of the Journey of Natty Gann? All right. This week in our main event, we are doing Heavenly Creatures, a Peter Jackson joint from 1994 that Eric and I both truly enjoy. And is a killer couple movie, but a twist on the formula in that the first three movies were sort of road movies, also mostly heteronormative couples, and and one based on real life people, one loosely based on real life circumstances, and one just
the mind of Quentin Tarantino translated by Oliver Stone.
Like Fever Dream, Acid Trip, Shroom Journey, Adventures on Natural Born Killers. Now we're doing Heavenly Creatures, a very different movie from the previous ones. But hey, Eric, pretty good movies, these last four movies. Not a stinker among them.
Nope.
I don't know if you know this, but sometimes movies can be PU stinky poo poo, but these are not. These are good movies.
These are good movies. We enjoy these movies.
I am on the precipice here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex of the giant winter storm rolling in. And I think we're just going to make it basically at the buzzer here with the internet. When it gets really cold and freezing here, this has been the way ever since I moved to Texas. For some reason, the internet decides to play funny games, starts to become a real bastard when it gets cold. I don't know what that correlation is, but so podcasting tonight, once the freezing rain, the chubby rain rolls in, I didn't know. I didn't know what our circumstances are going to be, but so far so good.
I'm glad to hear, and hopefully things stay that way.
All right. This week we actually do have entertainment news to get to, unlike last week when there was just a dry well.
Nothing of substance. Yeah.
I have Texas Chainsaw Massacre questions for you, Eric, as you are a fan of the franchise, and I wouldn't even call myself a casual. I would call myself a seen the first movie and seen the fourth movie and the reboot, and that's it. I want to ask you what the last two Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies even were from the last decade. What was Texas Chainsaw 3D and Leatherface?
Okay, this series, I'm actually think I'm going to write an article about this for Fandom. This series is worse than Halloween when it comes to conflicting timelines and continuity and rewriting the past.
And if you listen to us talk about Halloween before, you might think that's near impossible to do.
Right. So, the last two, and keep in mind, the last two were coming after the remake from 2003, which was an explicit remake, starting over in 1973. And then Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, which was a prequel to the remake, with the same actors, Arlie Emery, and all those people coming back. Ermi, right? I was saying his name wrong. Yeah. So they did those two movies, but then the last two, there was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D, which is just called, Texas Chainsaw 3D, which is now just Texas Chainsaw at Home, which is the one starring Alexandra Daddario. That movie was billed as like the true follow-up, like the real follow-up to the original movie.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
And so that one was we're going to ignore, I guess it beat Halloween to the punch as far as we're going to say that nothing else happened. No sequel matters in all these decades. This is the real follow-up.
But it's a sequel to the original 73, not the remake.
Not the remake.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just like Halloween, the two movies that were the remake verse went away. Yeah. So then you had that one, which was funny in itself because they immediately cheated because Alexandra Daddario, spoiler for Texas Chainsaw 3D, but I think this was kind of even given away in the ads, is playing like Leatherface's cousin, a unknown. They reveal more about the first movie, including that there was a baby in the house that was part of the family. All right. And she is that baby.
And that was Jacob Toretto.
Right. The problem is that Alexandra Daddario, when that movie was made, Texas Chainsaw 3D, I think she might have been like 26 or something. And in real life, if you did the math on the original movie, that character should be in their 40s. But it's like, well, we don't have a woman in her 40s as the star of this. But Daddario, we can't say is in her 40s, or that'd be silly. So we're just going to do this weird faking it thing of literally not showing the year the original movie took. They keep obscuring the year that anything's happening, whether they look in the past or the present, even though the original movie explicitly says it's 1973 in that opening scroll.
Yeah.
So that was Texas Chainsaw 3D. And then
I just want to make clear, that Eric there was doing a movie executive voice when he said we can't have a woman in her 40s in a movie. He dipped in and out of a character.
That was not Eric Goldman's thoughts on that. Yes, let me be clear. But then that was followed by a movie called Leatherface, not to be confused with Leatherface: Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Third movie. Yeah.
The third movie. This one was just called Leatherface. And this was a movie that was another prequel, except this is supposed to be a prequel to the original movie. And
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I hit something on my keyboard. So this was supposed to be a prequel to the original movie. And they were doing a little bit of a mystery because it's about a bunch of young characters, older teenagers, and there's a little bit of which of them is Leatherface, which of these kids is going to be Leatherface.
Becomes Leatherface?
Yes,
it's the one in the family.
I know they try to bob and weave.
All right.
Because no one's with the family. And they oddly tried to kind of connect it to Texas Chainsaw 3D a little bit at that point. Like there was a little bit of connective tissue to stuff from that movie. And that's all leads us into why you are asking me this, which is the trailer to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022.
So this was the longest way possible to get to the fact that the new trailer for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is just what it's called, which we have to now just add 2022 to it whenever we speak about it.
Not 2003 and not 1974.
Yeah. Is that is a follow-up question real quick. Are you bummed this is a Netflix movie?
Yeah, I mean, because I would love to see it in the theater. Yeah.
No, but I just mean like as far as like the legacy of Leatherface and trying to continue forward with him as a character on par or equal, or basically get his stock up again as far as like
I mean that too. So we should mention this was sold after production. You know that like movies end up at Netflix many different ways. Some are produced by Netflix,
right,
or some are sold to them after they're made. So this movie was made and then Netflix bought it. But yes, it like. We've just had a several month period of the successful
of like
return.
Candyman and you know another
Scream,
Michael Myers,
a new Halloween.
Chucky
was a TV show, but a very high profile one that aired on 2 different cable networks and now is on Peacock. So yeah, it does. There is the concern that this trailer, I mean, even this trailer coming out like 2 weeks before release, typical Netflix.
Well, that's Netflix, so yeah.
Is that
they didn't start airing this back in November when they should have.
Right.
Like it would have if it was opening in a theater. So Netflix, if they could, would never advertise anything and would just want everyone to just find things like and be shocked by what arrives on Netflix.
Right.
One thing that sort of draws me to this now, neither of them are directing this movie, but Fede Alvarez and Rodo Saguias, I don't know if I'm pronouncing Rodo's last name right, Sayaguas, I think, producers of the Evil Dead reboot / legacy sequel because of the post-credit sequence. I don't know, which I enjoyed quite a bit and was super, gross and intense the way that movie should be. And then the Don't Breathe movies, and they're doing they executive produced this movie. They didn't direct it,
and story by credit, yeah.
And the trailer looks great. It's got Elsie Fisher in it, who was great on Castle Rock, and I didn't see to my shame did not see 8th Grade.
You still haven't seen 8th Grade. You should see 8th Grade.
I still haven't seen a lot of things, like The Sopranos and Jackass.
That's true.
But so this seems to be doing again what it tried to do. I think what you said with Texas Chainsaw 3D, which is it is doing the Halloween 2018 treatment of like, now this one is the actual true sequel to the 70s
it is
original.
Once more claiming this is the real,
but even bringing back the Sally character.
Yes, blatantly copying Halloween 2018.
Exactly. The final girl,
by having Sally come back. It's not the original actress who sadly has passed away, but just the idea of a hardened Sally decades later. She's been waiting.
Even has the long gray hair, exactly like the Laurie Strode. I will say that if John Larroquette being a narrator tells us anything, it's going to be good because he only comes out for the good ones,
right? Because I just watched the remake again last night, and it's great. I mean, I think the remake's maybe my favorite. I mean, I might like the remake more than the original.
I liked it. I remember seeing it, and I remember liking it a lot. So
and Larroquette, who famously before he was a star, did the voiceover at the beginning of the original, and then they got him back for the remake. So yeah, he's back for this one. So hopefully that Larroquette magic is there.
God, Night Court was so good.
It was, and now he's going to be on the new Night Court.
He's going to be. Is he the judge now?
No, he is his daughter. No, I'm sorry. Harry's daughter is the main character, and she's a judge.
Oh, they're gonna verbally spar.
They will be verbally,
and she's gonna call him a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, like M did with James Bond and Goldeneye.
I hope that's exactly the trailer. A relic of the Cold War.
So I don't know actually the plot of this, except that Harlow is a ghost town and these younglings arrive, and then they also bring in somehow a bus load of tourists who get killed look like they get killed horribly on the bus. But I'm in, especially with those executive producers, because it'll be intense the way this particular horror franchise should be.
Fingers crossed. This has been a weird franchise because it's never fully taken off as a franchise. I say that, and this is the 9th movie, so it's not like
it's not for lack of trying.
Yeah, not for lack of trying. And also, you always have to make that decision, Matt, when you want to make a joke on Twitter, but you're like, how many people have beaten me to a similar joke? And sometimes you just power through. Sometimes you're like, fuck it, I don't care.
I know, especially I feel that way when I think of a joke like 2 days or a day after a story is broken. I'm like, surely someone has.
Well, I was gonna make a joke when they released the poster to this a couple of days before the trailer to say, wow, Terrence Malick directed this one. And someone in my feed had just made that joke. So I was like, well, now I just feel like it's too in my face. Well, if you ever see that poster where it's like him like looking through, it's like a sun, like Leatherface is backed by the sun, looking through like
it's just all magic hour. Yeah,
it's magic hour Leatherface. Yeah.
Well, I just had the conversation with you where after I saw Licorice Pizza, I did a Twitter search before I even thought about making a comment. Ultimately, I didn't even do it. But I was shocked, I tell you, to find barely anyone tweeted that Gary at the end of that movie wasn't dressed like Arcade, the villain from Marvel Comics. And I was like,
except you'd missed our good friend Brent Simons that made that.
Well, I blocked Brent long ago.
Okay, good. That's valid.
Okay. Other entertainment news: Jason Momoa has been confirmed as the villain in the Fast and Furious, the 10th Fast and Furious movie, the final movie that is being split into 2 parts, 2 different movies. Eric, lightning round. Who's he playing?
Well, they said that rumor is a bad guy.
Right.
Which means nothing in the long term for this series.
No, okay. Is he a lost Shaw? Is he Letty's brother? Is he Hobbs' brother?
I mean, the funny, the hysterical thing is, because it's impossible not to think that he is being cast as replacement Rock. Like, let's get a charming, buff Pacific Islander in here.
Is he just Aquaman?
Is he just Aquaman?
Is he Brian Toretto's Looper? And they go full sci-fi time travel. Like Scream 5 did.
One can hope.
Stab 5. Yeah.
One can hope all those things. It is funny when you hear his casting because it's like almost too perfect. Like, of course, he's in this series. It just seems right. But then just the funniness of him coming in after we've seen this whole thing with The Rock falling out, and that he will not come back despite the pleading on Instagram.
Do we find out the reason that Jason Momoa wasn't in a Fast and Furious movie sooner was because of Lisa Bonet and her objections?
Yeah, that's actually where they split.
And now they split. He's like, I'm finally doing it. Yeah.
Right.
He's like, it's the movie family or the real family. He's like, the movie family is the real family.
You gotta make your choices, man. But yeah, I endorse this. It's again, it's just one of those things you see. You're like, oh yeah, of course. And then you're like, is he gonna be working with John Cena? Will he be fighting John Cena? Where's Charlize in all of this?
Where's Ludacris? Yeah. Also, is he Giselle? Is he like a reconstructed, physically reconstructed and altered, resurrected Giselle, who's now filled with nanotechnology?
And
is
time travel.
He Helen Mirren's secret lover?
Or not so secret lover?
Yeah, just out there.
She's like, this is because if Statham's back in the next one, based on that credit scene, it seems he will be. Maybe this is like his stepdad. And it just gives Shaw something even like new to be angry about all the time. Again, replacement Hobbs in this movie, so he's just like,
they just bickering. It just becomes.
I have to work.
I don't know why it said stepbrother. What's the movie where Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg is like? Stepfather, daddy issues, father bothers. What's it called?
Oh my god, damn it!
You don't have to look it up, but we know what we're talking about.
It was this fucking sequel.
There were 2 of them, and Mel Gibson was in one.
He was, along with the much less controversial why the hell am I blanking on the Trinity Killer's real name now?
Lithgow.
Yeah, John Lithgow. Yes. Wait, what the hell? I don't want to find a YouTube video called Daddy's Home. It has a porny name. Okay. Daddy's Home.
That's a porn tag, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. So in other entertainment news, an actual live action Masters of the Universe movie is being made. We've not been at a loss for Masters of the Universe animated series. Two actually just arrived on Netflix over the past year, but now we're going to get a live action one, which has been sort of in the works for a while, like some people trying to get this off the ground.
Lots of different versions of this.
Yeah. And it's being directed by the Nee brothers, who will co-direct, and the script is being produced by the Nees, and
who have the Lost City that Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum,
which looks very funny.
It does, yeah.
And David Callahan, who wrote Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, is also co-penning the script. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like an origin story for Prince Adam, aka He-Man. And He-Man is played by Kyle Allen, who I only know from The Path, where he played Aaron Paul's and Michelle Monaghan's son.
Oh, okay. I know him from two things, because I knew he was in West Side Story. I assume as one of the Jets. I didn't remember who he was, but I was like, well, he's got to be a Jet, looking like a handsome white guy like that. But yeah, it's interesting because they've been trying to do this movie for so long, but Netflix. So it's going to be made for Netflix, and Netflix, has kind of gone all in on Masters of the Universe. I mean, starting with the She-Ra series, which, obviously has this connective tissue, and now two different Masters of the Universe animated series running concurrently, and now the live action movie. And you really see, we've talked about this, but it's like, because they lost Marvel and any connection to Disney, like they really have to build up franchises themselves. And that either means starting from scratch and trying to make Red Notice a thing, or finding something like Master of the Universe, which is owned by Mattel but has no studio,
Mattel's gonna also co-produce. So yeah.
So it was at Sony. When they were trying to do this movie, it was Sony for a long time. But now it's going to be a Netflix joint. So yeah, Netflix is just they're all in on the He-Man train.
Yeah, Lost City looks great. And Channing Tatum, Daniel Radcliffe, Brad Pitt. I'm in.
I'm in too.
I'm in.
And yes, it's I like, because of course, you can make Romancing the Stone comparisons, except that the funny thing is, it's like Romancing the Stone if both of them were inept, because Channing Tatum is not like the guy who can show her around the jungle.
Well, and like the Brad Pitt plays the guy who Michael Douglas would be, right? Like that type of but the whole twist of that was the thing. The whole sort of twist. I don't know if twist is the right word, but the defiance of convention for Romancing the Stone is she meets the guy who's from the romance novels that she writes, and he's just an asshole. Yeah. But that plays into actual rom-com movie tropes. Like these characters obviously don't know they're in a romantic movie, but it plays against what she writes about. I haven't seen this actor, Kyle Allen, since The Path, but yeah, The Path was fine. He was good. Mm-hmm. Had a character named Hawk. Not playing Hawkman, he was playing He-Man. Did Pathy Things. That was about a cult. That was a Hulu series, correct? Right?
I believe so. And because I interviewed Aaron Paul and Michelle Monaghan for that show.
All right. Now,
TCA once long ago.
You can find Eric and myself on Twitter at the Matt Fowler and the Eric Goldman. Podcast is that We Enjoy Podcast. Over on Patreon for $2 a month, you can get a completely ad-free version of this podcast with no commercial interruptions. And you can write in at weenjoypodcast@gmail.com. No mailbag this week, Eric, but let's announce what we're doing for next week's main event before we get into our good things to enjoy.
Yeah, we're tangenting. Yeah. Well, tangenting off a tangent, right?
Yes. So we're sort of keeping the theme going. We actually had a final film in mind for next week, but we're taking not a full pause, but like a diversion. We're sort of taking the long way around. And based on this week's movie, Heavenly Creatures, next week we are doing 2018's I think underwatched, and will be new to many of our listeners, Thoroughbreds, starring Anya Taylor-Joy and Olivia Cook.
Yep.
And Eric introduced me to this movie, as he loves to introduce movies, and that's a great quality. And I really loved it, and I think it'll be cool to sort of delve into that and maybe introduce y'all to it as well. And you can rent Thoroughbreds at all the rentable, renty platforms, and also you can sort of tape it, set it to record off of a DirecTV subscription, which is what I will probably do. So. All right. Next week is Thoroughbreds. Let's get into our good things to enjoy. Eric, what is your good thing to enjoy this week?
It's one of those things where I'm like, well, people who listen to this podcast, there might be a good amount of people who watch this, but it was not a huge hit show. So there's always going to be people who meant to or just didn't. And it recently arrived on HBO Max. So it has like kind of that little boost of like, hey, attention when things come to a streamer, even if they've been around for quite a while, which is the TV series Fringe, which debuted in 2008, I believe, ran for 5 seasons, was co-created by J.J. Abrams, Alex Kurtzman, and Roberto Orsi, who were all hated by the internet at various stages, even though, as we've mentioned, they've all also worked on good things that you liked at various points as well.
God help me if they ever make one thing I hate.
Right. But I guess also we should mention, being the busy people they are, none of them were the showrunners for this show. They kicked it off. Kurtzman and Orsi, I think, were involved a little bit past the pilot. Abrams co-wrote the pilot, then went off to be J.J. Abrams doing a million things. I don't think I need to explain the show too much, just because I think most people kind of have the gist, which is to say it is X-Files-y for sure. X-Files being an incredibly influential show in TV history, in that it is, about a government agency and investigating strange stuff, fringe things that, could be anything. They could be, are we talking supernatural? Are we talking, what are we talking here exactly, is something we start to figure out as the show goes on.
Well, and so I would say with like X-Files had its alien conspiracy, Fringe, even though it's very episodic and has its cases of the week, has its own very specific sort of sci-fi spine.
Right, which
story.
Develops more and more. The second and third seasons kind of go further into that. The Fringe division, a little more of a thing than the X-Files, which is, kind of supposed to be like really off the beaten track here. But there's, they have a few more people helping them. But there's a core trio of characters on this show, which is Olivia Dunham, played by Anna Torv, and the father-son duo. And I think, obviously our big sort of key to the success and the reason to love this show, so is Anna Torv, but the father-son dynamic with Peter Bishop and Walter Bishop, played by Joshua Jackson and John Noble. And, just John Noble, a role that, even though he'd been working forever and he was in the Lord of the Rings and whatnot, really got people to notice him in a different way, because it is a purposely sort of very quirky, offbeat character that he is exactly the right actor to do, and to make him charming and lovable, and have these great dynamics with the other characters.
And he had a sweet tooth, Eric, a sweet tooth.
He had a sweet tooth. There's just, like you said, Matt, it's there's cool, fun case of the week stuff, but then there's definitely, because this was coming up an era where you could get more serialized than X-Files. It goes into its serialized element more than X-Files did. And there's some fun elements to that. And I think I can say there's no reason to keep a spoiler on something like Leonard Nimoy plays a role in this show in a pivotal, he's not in a ton of episodes, but he's an important character.
Oh, very important and very good. And this actually broke John Noble big into American TV.
Yes.
Because then after this, he did Elementary for a lot. He did a lot of Legends of Tomorrow,
Sleepy Hollow
directly after this, and does a voice on Star Trek Prodigy. This was a really fun series, and I don't know if I'm misremembering this, but I do believe this was a show constantly on the bubble. Like Eric said, not a lot of people watched it, but when this was a rare show that when it did move to Fridays, it kind of helped the series survive for a few more seasons, because it underperformed just the perfect amount that was fine for a Friday night back when the typical TV ratings were more traditional than they are now with all the streaming platforms and stuff. But Yeah, because you didn't need a huge audience to just do well enough on Friday nights. Fringe's weekly eyeballs just inch it across the finish line every time. So
yeah. By the way, I'm glancing at the writing credits. Abrams actually wrote a couple episodes in season 1. I forgot that he wrote like 3 different episodes. But also, it's funny, Matt, when I tweeted about because someone else I know was like, "Oh, watching Fringe on HBO Max," and then I retweeted him and added, "Oh, I didn't realize it had come on HBO Max. That's great." And I got a lot of excited people responding to me and just like, a lot of Fringe nostalgia. But I also got a couple people that are like, Fox fucked over this show, or they I'm still mad about how they treated this show and all this. And I'm like, it's so funny. I'm like, this show went 5 seasons and 100 episodes, and these days you will not see 100 episodes of a cool sci-fi show. Those days are over.
Seasons rarely even, unless you're CBS or like one of the procedurals on NBC, or part of the Shondaverse. You don't even get like 22 episode seasons of TV anymore.
Yeah.
And this was, people were still like had, bitter and angsty feelings towards what Fox did to Firefly. But as we pointed out, and on our old TV podcast that Eric and I did, Channel Surfing, of which John Noble was a guest at one point. He came in and actually in-person guest. Does Fox cancel a lot of sci-fi series? Yes, but it's also because Fox takes a chance on a lot of sci-fi series.
Yes, especially back in the day when it just none of the main networks were not doing that. And just for everyone to have the peace of mind, if they haven't watched Fringe, they got to do a proper ending. They knew the final season was the final season.
Thank you. I was going to say it also ended well.
Yeah,
like it has a good ending. So if you're worried about that too.
Well, I mean, look, some people don't love the final season takes a big swing and it's not, some people it wasn't their favorite. And I think like any show that runs 100 episodes or anything, it has its ups and downs and it has parts you might like more than other parts. But I think in its totality, a really fun, really creative show centered around really likable characters, which of course is usually key to how much your investment is going to be in something like this. I say
it ended well, and the people who don't think so are dummies. And
I also think it ended well.
Now you've made me miss Mindhunter, so thanks a lot.
Yeah, I was going to mention how I wish Anna Torv was a bigger star. Realizing she was in a show that people really like that I've not seen. It's my Jackass. Well,
now you have no reason because it's just sort of like it's going to leave you hanging. Not in the worst way that shows have left people hanging in the past, but you know what I mean. Yeah. It's unfinished, and poor Anna Torv will also forever be mistaken for Cate Blanchett. It's just one of those weird things that have.
Also, didn't people think she was Carrie Coon when she was on Mindhunter?
Yes, people thought Carrie Coon was on Mindhunter.
Yeah.
Carrie Coon is now on the Gilded Age, which I enjoy.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I should watch that. But yeah, so Fringe, you can watch all of it on HBO Max. Matt.
All right. Speaking of HBO Max, returning tomorrow as we record this on a Wednesday night, so returning Thursday, February 3rd for its second season, is a sci-fi series called Raised by Wolves, which is executive produced by Ridley Scott, who actually directed the first 2 episodes of the show. And this was one of the series that HBO Max launched with. What network launched with Brave New World? What streaming service? Remember that? It was short-lived.
Oh, was that Peacock?
Was it Peacock or Apple TV or one of those?
That was Peacock. That was Peacock.
Like FX on Hulu, sort of launching with devs, which like Raised by Wolves is not the easiest show to use to draw people to your new streaming service, as it is a extremely high concept, epic, quote unquote, hard sci-fi series. So it's not like, hey, this is a cop and here's his robot partner. I'm thinking of like Almost Human or something like that. This is like Dune. This is like big swings with, high concept. I think also a Foundation, the new series that's out there, which is like really lofty concepts and characters that don't immediately maybe grab you, and a lot of head scratching because you don't know what the fuck's going on most of the time. But I will say the first episode of this series blew me away and took some unexpected turns like nothing I'd seen in a long while. And just to break it all down for you, is basically about two humanoid looking sort of cyborgs, some androids who are named Father and Mother, and they arrive on a desolate planet with basically 6 human embryos of children to raise on this planet. And so basically these human children are going to be raised by these 2 androids. And what we find out is that they are Father and Mother were sent from Earth as Earth has been destroyed during a great war between atheists and a huge, very ultra pious religious, basically a giant holy war erupted on Earth in the future, destroying Earth. And the atheists sent these androids far ahead of the other ark carrying humans, the religious humans, to this planet. They arrive first and try to raise these kids. Following after them is an ark filled with a huge swath of basically religious assholes. And it's sort of the I don't know, I can't even describe this show. It's like the trials and tribulations of trying to raise human children, robots raising human children, while also having to sort of dodge and go to war with the remnants of the worst aspects of like religious culture from Earth. And the only like notable name that stands out to maybe to people who watch Vikings is Travis Fimmel, who played Ragnar on that series, and everyone else isn't like sort of a known commodity.
But have you mentioned Ridley Scott at all? Because
I just said that. I opened with it.
Oh, sorry. Okay, just because
I opened with it that he directed the first 2 episodes. He's an executive producer, and
he's actively involved in the show, and also it's just funny because Ridley Scott, while he has had a varied career and done many types of projects, something he keeps returning to, especially in recent years, is artificial life. Mm-hmm. It's like clearly something, to the point that people were like, with the 2 Alien prequels he did, were like, man, it seems like he doesn't even want to do Alien prequels. He wants to do a movie about more AI, like Blade Runner, which might be true. So it's just fascinating that this is another project from Ridley Scott about artificial life. And clearly, just this topic, his fascination with, how human can they be? Can they be better than us? Would they replace us?
Can they raise humans with morality? And can they? And the basically sort of a twist on convention is that father is the nurturer, and the sort of father is the traditional mother, right? Whereas mother is the protector, the sort of the harsher, more rigid, tough love, but also like lethal weapon of the 2. And there are so many interesting aspects to this show, and episode to episode, things take such hard lefts sometimes that you don't expect within you, that you maybe only expect to happen in a pilot or a finale, changing the course of like the actual story, like midway. So I'm very excited to see what the roller coaster of season 2 and all that brings when it starts on Thursday, February 3rd, HBO Max.
You're helping convince me, because I saw the first 2 episodes of the show and liked them quite a bit. It just is there's too much, and so because I watched the screeners early. And
but
then it was
so when I say hard sci-fi, I mean like things that aren't going to necessarily emotionally grab you. And for a lot of people, that's important in television. So I understand why something like this and something like the Dune universe, or if it's not done properly, or Foundation or other things like that aren't there to sort of tug at your heartstrings all the time. It's a polarizing show. It's not for everyone, I don't believe. And neither is, that type of genre. Within horror and sci-fi and all the different genres, there are multitudes and different levels. And there's horror I love and there's horror I don't love. There's just, that's the way it works. So
Yeah, this is not like a mainstream for everyone sci-fi story.
So I'm saying, like, if you watch the first 2 episodes and didn't dig it enough to continue, I get it,
Oh no, but I did like him enough to continue. I just didn't.
But you just didn't. All right.
Just didn't.
All right. So let's move into our main event. Again, next week's main event is Thoroughbreds. This week we are talking Heavenly Creatures. Eric, you and I saw this movie, and I believe you had already seen it, correct?
I'd probably already seen it a few times. I saw this movie a few times. And yeah, this movie, I had to make sure when you tweeted out your memory of those 4 movies, what I had to remind myself, I was like, oh, I remember that day. I remember we saw 4 movies in a row, and I remember ending with Heavenly Creatures. It surprised me the other 3 movies because I knew those other 3 movies opened months later. But then I realized, well, Heavenly Creatures opened at the end of, the year before, 94, but it was a small release. It had an Oscar nomination. When we went to see it, it was up for an Oscar, so that's why it was still playing.
We had to go to Lemley.
Is that where we saw it, Lemley?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happened was that we saw. So in one day, Eric and I went and saw The Quick and the Dead, In the Mouth of Madness, the Brady Bunch movie, and then left that theater, of which we only paid for one of those movies, by the way.
What?
We theater hopped. Don't tell.
Oh my gosh.
AMC, don't tell City Walk, yeah,
which wasn't an AMC at the time, but don't tell them.
Don't tell AMC the babysitter's dead. Yeah, and we had to go to the art house, movie house, to see Heavenly Creatures. Eric, it wasn't going to just play with Quick and the Dead, though. I will say, Heavenly Creatures marking Peter Jackson's first attempt to quote unquote play it straight after doing really entertaining, super gory schlock horror for his first 3 or 4 movies. Doing Heavenly Creatures, there is a sort of a Sam Raimi comparison here, right? As far as like Raimi's, he does his Evil Dead, Army of Darknesses, and Darkman, and then goes into Simple Plan, right? And then
right.
What was the baseball movie he did? And then
For the Love of the Game, yeah.
And then even The Gift with not Anna Torv but Kate Blanchett. You know what I mean? Like that was more of a sort of a straight. It was a supernatural thriller, but it wasn't directed the same way he did Drag Me to Hell, right?
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember for me because Heavenly Creatures was this big. Taking this guy who was making purposefully silly, schlocky, fun horror movies, and this was his calling card movie. This was the movie that put him on the map, and in the mainstream, it got so much acclaim and got him writing the Oscar nomination.
And then he did Frighteners afterwards. So yeah,
he did Frighteners after, which was a bomb, but but then he went right into Lord of the Rings. So this movie was hugely important in his career and put him right on the path to Lord of the Rings. I'm trying to remember for me if I'd seen Dead Alive yet or not, because that's like
you showed me Dead Alive, so you most definitely
had
seen it, because so the thing about Dead Alive, or as it's known overseas, Brain Dead,
yeah,
is you showed me, and I don't know where you got it from, what video store it was in the Valley, but or where you bought your copy if you owned it. I went back to New York. So this is how I knew you'd already seen it, and showed it to, actually, maybe I'm getting my stints in New York in high school and then post UCLA mixed up when I was at NYU. All I know is I showed it to Raphael, mutual friend, my childhood friend, Raphael, who I wound up rooming with when I went to NYU. So maybe it was there. My point being is that I rented this movie, and within 2 minutes, I knew something was wrong and that it was a severely edited version of the movie. Yeah, because the opening of that movie, they cut off the dude's hand, and you see it happen in the unedited movie. And this, they cut away. I was like, wait a second, because if you tell someone this is the goriest movie you're ever going to see, and within 2 minutes you're already worried, you're like, wait a second, like that was my pitch to him. That was my pitch to Raphael.
And he's just like, boo, and giving you a thumbs down.
Yeah, he just the whole thing. No, I stopped the movie. I said, we can't watch this. This is terrible.
And you threw the tape out the window.
And the TV. I don't know why. But so it basically, so now I have to actually backtrack and take back what I said. I don't know if you had seen it already.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'll never know because it's all blurs together. I remember that I saw Dead Alive at like the New Art or something like that after I saw the trailer, and I was like, that's wild. But yeah, this movie, so I'd already seen it, and just so this is one of my favorite movies ever. Like when I wrote my top 10 movies for IGN a few years ago, this was in it. And like everything, there's a sliding scale. Some days I might have a slightly different top 10, but this, I unequivocally would call this one of my favorite movies. And so I saw it fall 94 and just was like, this is amazing. And then as Matt has mentioned, I then show people in my life movies I love.
Well, I feel like did the other three movies where I was seeing them for the first time. Had you seen any of them? Did you see the Brady Bunch movie already?
I'd seen the Brady Bunch movie because I wonder why I was even home. Maybe spring break. Maybe this was in March. Because I would have been in Boston.
You would have been in Boston, yeah.
And I definitely saw the Brady Bunch movie opening night in Boston. I kind of have a memory, but I think Quick and the Dead was my first time. And what was the other movie we?
In the Mouth of Madness.
Those two, I think, might have been the first time. Brady Bunch and the very similar Brady Bunch movie and Heavenly Creatures I'd seen.
Oh, so Sam Raimi. That's why I was thinking of Sam Raimi as Quick and the Dead, and he did that before he did Simple Plan. So he did a Western, but it was still very Sam Raimi-y. Yes. And actually, that feeds into Heavenly Creatures because there's still elements in Heavenly Creatures, which for most of the movie is played as a sort of whimsical dark comedy of horror and sci-fi. There's camera angles and tilts and music that evokes his early horror movies.
And then, of course, looking towards his future, there is a fantasy world,
Oh yeah, and so yeah, that you get the sort of the building blocks for what's to come with his own filmmaking later on. Mm-hmm. Being, how heavily he focused, he drew from the story of these two young girls and their shared psychosis of this fourth world, this kingdom that they've created in their mind, and he sort of went full tilt with it, and he and Fran Walsh wrote very heavily leaning into this as as sort of the best way to cinematically represent their delusion, right, is to just actually have it play out. And Eric, have you ever heard of Folie Deux, or translated as The Folly of Two? So I listened to a podcast. I listen to one true crime podcast. I don't listen to a plethora of them. I listened to just one, and one episode was all about twin sisters, Ursula and Sabina Eriksson. Just one of a handful of cases of what is known as basically shared delusional disorder. And so this was the first time I was watching this movie after having listened to that podcast and knowing that this is sort of an actual thing that occurs, and it's where basically symptoms of delusional belief and sometimes hallucinations are transmitted from one individual to another or shared between two people as a form of mass hysteria. And so I feel like since that's actually sort of a thing, it's like that's what I was like looking at this movie with. That was the lens I was now seeing this movie through, as far as like there are two ways that Folie Deux plays out. One is there is a primary delusion carrier who basically transmits it to the secondary. And when you separate the two, the secondary is able to instantly not have those delusions anymore without medication or rehabilitation. So it's very interesting. The second case of that is when two people are delusional, and when they come together, they both trigger each other into having the delusions. So that felt very, very much what was happening here and what was being evoked on screen. Even though I've never seen that written about with this movie, but I also haven't read everything that was written.
Right. But also, of course, you just wonder, because this is a true story.
True
story about a very real, thing that happened, and a very real case that was like an infamous case in New Zealand, but also just in general, because it's got a lot of sensationalistic elements to it. And I know that I think they tried to plead insanity, and it, was not accepted. You do wonder if this was like this happened now, like if there'd be a better mental analysis of them.
Okay, so one of the things that Walsh and Jackson wanted to do with this movie is humanize them and dig in deeper past the sort of tabloid treatment that they got at the time, because, this happened in the 50s, and anything at this abhorrent, now this story is like the way that we live our lives now. Like, this is just commonplace awfulness. Whereas like at the time, especially, in Christchurch, in a community that's much smaller and much more isolated, it's, they were depicted as evil incarnate, as the devil. And so they went around interviewing old classmates of them and people who knew them, and went through, actually, of course, Pauline's actual diary, which is used in the movie for a lot
all
of the
those voiceovers are real quotes from her diary. Yeah.
To sort of give more layers here. And obviously what is in front of our eyes is a severely dangerously codependent relationship between two young women. Obsessive. Whether or not it's fully sexual, or if it's just sort of beyond that in a psychological realm that it sort of exists asexually.
And it feels like it's beyond that. It feels like
asexual. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like it's like they're lesbians. It feels just like, no, they are just,
especially
even define it. Yeah.
Especially since the movie goes to great lengths to sort of turn that into, I'm not going to say a joke, but as part of the game, the folly of the time, of where like these two, like also growing up, these two are living in a world where women are ignored and marginalized and abused and misinformed, and they're to blame for all the actions of men, and they are shame and embarrassment for their families, and they have no autonomy, and to the point where murdering their mother, Pauline's mother, at the end felt like the worst way, and yet a way of seizing control of their lives, because they have done. And you mentioned like the mental health care that these two needed, both together as a duo and individually, as far as mood disorders and sort of mental maladies that are completely unaddressed, because things weren't discussed, things were ignored in both aspects of their lives, from Pauline's parents, who were well-meaning but also did things wrong in their own way, to Juliet's awful, obtuse, narcissistic parents, who almost looked at her as a blight who they could only allow in their lives if she wasn't sick, right? Like as soon as she was any sort of a burden that would allow them, that would mean that they would have to stop focusing on themselves, they sent her away or they left her. But yeah, this movie, there's so much to love about this movie. And one of the things I love is probably maybe the worst and hardest parts to watch of this movie. And it's the ending.
Oh yeah.
Which is to say, the whole movie plays like a dream and tongue-in-cheek in some regard, but that ending is awful and agonizing and horrible to watch. And it's almost like that's when reality comes crashing down for us, the audience member.
Yep.
Because up until that point, if you don't even know it's a true story, it's like, oh, what are these two goofballs going to do? Like, they're so you have the first couple minutes to know something, but you might put that out of your mind too, watching. But I also love how we never revisit that.
No.
We get them running out of the woods covered in blood at the beginning, mixed with sort of the black and white, the dream of them leaving together on a boat with Juliet's parents and stuff like that. But we never revisit them running out. Like, that's all we get. And the movie actually closes with that dream being destroyed. And that's brilliant. Okay.
Hey, look, let's mention, obviously, before we get into that ending is so great. And because the movie is it's very sympathetic to the two of them and treats them like real people. And it's a sad story, but it's a tragedy. And it has to be a tragedy for Pauline's poor mother, who is murdered horribly and in real life was horribly, a murder victim that you can't overlook that. And so that ending is like, no, that, this is an awful thing that happened, and you can't like let them off the hook for that, because they did it. But it all intersects in the way that, like you said, them intercutting between the like sort of, the dream, the dream destroyed, as they're just doing this incredibly brutal, played straight, and just so sort of upsetting murder is such. I remember in the theater, this movie really had a grip on audiences, and I just, it was so tense when they're walking, the music's so great, and they're getting ready to do it. And when she comes up behind her, it was just like,
and you don't know what's going to happen because, like, Juliet was acting nervous. Like, she seemed to be the one who was doubtful and like fidgety, and
right.
Anyway, backing up, firstly, Pauline and Juliet, under different names, are actually still alive today. They're my mother's age, which is about 83 years old. And
yeah, that's my mother's age.
What? And then I don't know if they have never seen each other again, but they live in different parts of the country.
Of the world.
Juliet actually became an English author of historical detective fiction.
Well, this is a huge, this is a whole crazy thing because she's a very successful author.
Yes.
And this was quite a little scandal, understandably, when the movie came out, because she had to change her name. It was not part of her bio. And to find out, let's go to the most extreme example, which is like, if you love Stephen King, you're like, oh, by the way, when he was a teenager, he murdered someone.
Right.
Was finding out that Juliet, now going by the name Anne Perry, was a very successful writer of dozens of murder mysteries. It's pretty crazy, Well,
after committing one of the most blatant and easily catchable murders in history, she's like, I got to get better at.
Right. And look, I was, sometimes I've gone on Heavenly Creatures deep dives. I did a little bit this week, but I didn't need to do too much because I already had, where it's like looking up, like she did like a TV interview. She did a couple interviews after it came out that it was her. And then people in the comments and stuff, and people who said they can't read her anymore because now it feels like she's profiting off of like
cancel culture, Eric.
No, but it's crazy. So I completely
understand. And
it's a crazy nuts. Just her story alone and what her career path is a whole other thing. Yeah.
And then Pauline thinks she also changed her name at some point, but very different. Still, where I don't know where she lives. What's going on with Pauline?
I believe they don't live too far from each other, even though supposedly they did not see each other again. Also, if I recall correctly, so Juliet's Perry is her stepfather's last name that she used professionally, Anne Perry. I believe that her stepfather's the man she catches her mom with in the movie.
Well, I'm glad it still worked out for her, her mom and the actual other married individual that she stole from her marriage.
So much so that she took her successful pseudonym from him. So there you go.
Well, her real dad just sits around with salmon and egg sandwiches in his pockets for days, not knowing what they are. So she probably traded up. All right, playing Juliet and Pauline for the first time on the silver screen, Peter Jackson brought to us Kate Winslet and Melanie Lynskey.
Introducing credits. Yeah,
their first film roles. Both of them would go on to have big careers on doing a lot of things. Kate Winslet would blow up in a huge superstardom way very quickly after this movie. Melanie Lynskey, just seen on Yellow Jackets, and was in a great movie called But I'm a Cheerleader, and was on a TV series, a short-lived TV series called Togetherness. But she's been in a ton of things. Was a mainstay on 2.5 Men for many years.
My wife loves her in Ever After, the Drew Barrymore movie.
Ever After, there's just a lot of things. If you go to her filmography, you'll see that she's just been working straight ever since.
But having a moment with Yellow Jackets right now. Yeah.
Oh yeah, having sort of
clearly
a moment. Yeah.
Any of us who know her from Heavenly Creatures, there's that little bit of because we knew her in the 90s playing a teenage girl who murdered someone, and Yellow Jackets being about teenage girls who might end up murdering people.
We don't know what happens.
We don't know what happens.
We'll have to find out in season 5 at this point. But yeah, so but I'm a cheerleader. I might recommend that at some point, But I'm a Cheerleader with Natasha Lyonne. All right. So yeah.
Well, and just let's just say amazing casting. The fact that both of these, so impressive, both just like finding them, that they're so great, that they're both the stars of this movie and, basically on screen the entire time, one or the other or both, and completely hold the screen. It's just, you always look back on like impressive debuts, and the fact that this movie has two of them at its center is pretty amazing.
And the fact that they also have to hold this movie down and anchor this movie while also at the same time being enormous pains in the ass the entire time is, I think, a testament to their charm and their acting ability and just their commitment, their immediate commitment as new performers in a movie to these roles, which is quite incredible. It's funny that one of the first movies I recommended as one of my good things to enjoy, either the first or second or third episode, was Picnic at Hanging Rock, which is an Australian story. But it's funny because that was a movie that was it was a book that was turned into a movie that was meant to pretend to be based on a true story, but it wasn't. Right. It was also about schoolgirls. It was also about sort of like, basically mass hysteria involved with that storyline as well. But that was fake. But this is an actual real story just across the water there over in the South Island of New Zealand. And they are, okay, let's get into the movie. Melanie Lynskey and Kate Winslet are absolute marvels in this film. And and it's funny because they're portrayed in so many different ways as far as like they're frolicking and screaming. And by the end of the movie, and actually the beginning of the movie when they're running out of the woods and shrieking basically, and I don't know what their story is, if they think they can actually convince somebody that Pauline's mother fell and hit her head or something like that. I don't know what they were trying to pull off.
And again, if you read the real story, it's like it fell apart instantly. It was like, none of it added up, so they didn't think that part through very well.
I don't even know if Juliet knew that Pauline was keeping a diary of everything, that
explained explicitly what they were doing.
But like the way by the end of the movie, the merging of these girls' laughter and screaming, because there are points in the movie where they're screaming and shrieking in terror, but it's all in fun, like when they're running from like Ugo Ghost Orson Welles or something like that, where it's played like film noir horror, but then they laugh at the end because they've been having a fake adventure, right? So it's again part of their game. So everything blurs together as part of their game. Their actual anger and their joy sort of commingle in a way that they're become indistinguishable at some point. Because even early on in their friendship, Pauline pretends to die or get seriously injured after their bikes are run off the road, and Juliet in that moment is truly frightened and crying. But so the agony and the ecstasy are immediately blended together for them. Like it's all two sides of the same coin. It doesn't matter.
Right. And, look, I mean, obviously everyone said, teenagers, super heightened, everything is life or death. Everything is, the end of the world. And this is taking that to the most extreme possible because these girls took it to the most extreme possible. It just totally works, especially once you get into the fourth world stuff. And that it was this elaborate thing that they had made up in their mind that might have been literally delusion. Like, what is the line between this is a fun game we're doing and like we really believe, especially when all the stuff with Pauline and how brilliant we are. Like she talks again, and this is stuff from her diary. She really wrote this. How much is this like her being funny, being cheeky, and how much was it real of her being like, we are more brilliant than anyone?
There's the line, no one can fully appreciate us. It's two people. And look, we just did two movies, Bonnie and then Sissy Spacek's character. What was her name in that movie? Holly. In Badlands. Maybe more so Bonnie, but people longing to leave their what they consider mundane, humdrum, like beneath them lives. And, it's not like before Juliet entered Pauline's life, she was already a completely depressed and morose individual. Like it's like she was whatever it was that she needed emotionally and in her environment to thrive and to flourish and to be healthy mentally, she was not getting. And we just sort of came out of two movies where the women are pulled away by the prospect and the idea of something better, differently for both of the women in Bonnie and Clyde and Badlands. But the shared delusions between Pauline and Juliet, all they did was feed each other. They kept throwing more wood on each other's fire until it just became this uncontrollable blaze, right? Like the fact that they really think that Hollywood is about to call, like without submitting anything, just the mere manifestation of their stories in their head. Like, well, I wrote letters to each other and we've talked about it. So how come, obviously people are going to want this, and they do want it. They know about it. Like everything just sort of compounds.
By the way, again, there is the craziness that one of them became a very successful author. So she might have been on.
So a publishing house did come calling, and one of them actually was a talented writer.
He just had to do a few years in prison first.
This wasn't Pauline. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, maybe in prison she took writing classes. I mean, is she even legally allowed to write about the kingdom of, what's it called? Barovnia.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wouldn't that be horrible? That would be more horrible if she became successful writing about saga about Barovnia.
That would be bad. Yeah.
All right.
And it was like everyone's favorite fantasy novels.
We opened in 1952 in Christchurch, New Zealand, and we opened also with one of those very blasé old tourism videos that are meant to sort of instill purity and family values, and sort of the quiet place where where life slows to a crawl, right? Like just like where families thrive and values are upheld, and isn't this beautiful? And
I assume you still haven't seen the Beatles Get Back.
No, I haven't seen it.
Just because
I've only seen the movie that affects that, which is
well, if you watch
Magic Christian,
if you watch it at some point, that's right. The first couple minutes, actually probably the first few minutes, because there's a decade to cover. There is a kind of like the Beatles so far recap that Jackson put together, and it reminded me a little bit of the opening of Heavenly Creatures, just as far as like the way it's doing it to like catch you up on like here's what we're jumping into.
Well, it reminds me of the way, and purposely it was done like this, that David Lynch's Blue Velvet opened, which is playing the Blue Velvet song over this idealized suburb, to quickly really basically pull the layers back to reveal a dark and violent underbelly beneath the perfection. And so I think that's what this movie was sort of prepping us for as well.
But of course, here, like we mentioned, it's like we immediately cut to these two girls covered in blood.
Yes,
just to forewarn you.
That's the finding of the human ear in Blue Velvet on the lawn. But yeah, their shrieking is so. It's such a way to open the movie. And again, I'll repeat, I love that they didn't go back to that to end the movie. We're just sort of left to remember that and pick up more on that later, they'll say. So Pauline's in this school, and again, very, very much indicative of the movie we just watched, the little tourism movie. Everyone's prim and proper. And then in comes new student who I take it to be way more traveled, more cultured, and more has more money.
She's talked up by the it's not the teacher, whoever brings her into the class is like,
but just a better stock. The family probably earns more money, right, than everyone. As seen later on when Juliet visits, and Pauline is sort of ashamed by everything her parents say, and the fact that she also is living in a boarding house, like her parents use that for lodgers. So Juliet comes in, and she's like a force of nature, correcting teachers, and just being an outright pill in a way that very, very much amuses Pauline right out of the gate. Just like she is doing all the things and acting all the ways I would like to, but I can't, I'm unable to, I'm in a shell. I'm sort of, tucked away inside myself, but she is the sort of outlandish extrovert that I really, get off on watching. So and nothing that happens to her will happen to me. Sort of that detached consequence.
Right. And we soon after we get into the first of a couple of different moments where she will literally kind of see her as a princess. It's like that she's so beautiful and says what she wants, and it's just like, yeah, she's this force of nature and everything Pauline feels like she can't be. And then, yeah, it's funny. I don't want to be the Chris Farley show here and be like, oh, that part's so good, or that they did that part so good. But it's like, because Pauline is so introverted and quiet and glum, one of the first times we see her come out of her shell, which only really happens with Juliet, of course, is when Juliet is supposed to paint her in class, but instead she does St. George and the Dragon. I'm going to add Pauline later. And I love Lynskey's delivery of I think your drawing's fantastic. Yeah. And it's like the first time we see Pauline be like, even, and she still delivers it in kind of a funny, dark way, but it's like she Juliet is bringing her out of this shell, but very specifically Juliet. It's not, not to the world, it's for Juliet.
Yeah. And again, she's instantly drawn to somebody. She's like, Pauline's never seen anyone not follow the rules. Right? Like nobody does this. Nobody just blatantly flies in the face of convention the way Juliet does. And she's instantly drawn to it. And also, they have this shared love of horses or unicorns and fantasy. And so and drawing. So,
and then they bond over the fact that they were both sick as children.
So that's a really, really interesting part of the movie. The fact that they're both at death's door at some point and were laid up and isolated from the world for long stretches of time. And for Juliet, her family.
But that's the big, that's, the big undercurrent here, because it's something that Pauline has, her delusion continues, and she will see things in such a skewed way. She will idealize Juliet's parents, especially her father, even though we see that they are shitty people, while feeling like her parents are horrible when they're not. So it's like, yeah, they're telling each other these stories about we were sick kids. Well, Pauline at least has her parents by her bedside, and we see they're trying to entertain her, where Juliet was sent off to the Bahamas by herself because her parents never want to be with her when she's sick and deal with it. Personally,
they can't handle any sort of blight on their anything that would disrupt their plans or what they want to do in the moment for themselves, which is just heartbreaking. And so they bond over that. They bond over the fantasy world, and then Mario Lanza, which is someone that it seems like Juliet introduces Pauline to.
What I think is, because the album is in Pauline's home, I get the impression she didn't care about him one way or the other, probably.
Yeah.
But Juliet being like, he's the best, he's so handsome, I love him, and her idealizing Juliet now means she's going to also feel the same way.
I do want to know why she thinks Orson Welles is the most hideous man alive, and then also I don't want to know.
But then also he's part of their sexual fantasy, so it's a weird what does that even mean? He's so hideous.
He was one. She says he wasn't one of the saints, but then when they do, they basically spend the night making love like all of the saints, like you said, he's included in that. So yeah, it's an interesting quirk of Juliet, as far as one of the stars of Hollywood at the time is just someone that she abhors for in very intensely and for unknown reasons, but also
it's too bad she didn't have a diary too, because again, there's so much straight from Pauline's diary, including the Orson Welles stuff, but yeah, we don't have more context.
Maybe her new detective novels fucking say why she hates Orson Welles. The main
I think they're
character
set turn
Orson
of the
Welles.
century, so I don't think they could get into that.
Juliet hates Orson Welles the way and thinks the most hideous man alive the way your mom hates Ethan Hawke.
I thought the same thing.
He's our hideous, disgusting man alive.
Maybe my mom's really into him. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe she protests too much, right?
Right.
Maybe there's only one saint, and it is Ethan Hawke. Over this time when they're starting to get to know each other, she sees Juliet sort of playing around outside, wearing a dress, playing with her brother, and they're doing sort of a medieval prince kingdom storyline that Pauline will get sucked into in a very dangerous manner. And from there, they start building, doing arts and crafts and doing these statues and actually making the characters themselves out of clay. These little statues that Peter Jackson would create in life-size form, and really in a way that's both humorous and horrifying, like the way that they look and act. And it's not like when they imagine their the fourth world, it is filled with actual other people dressed in beautiful clothing.
Right.
It is these golems, right? These clay giants that tower over them, and both act as sort of like grotesques and protectors. So it's a really interesting thing to do. And the Mario Lanza music adds another romanticized layer of music that sort of acts counterpoint to the themes of the film, especially when we get toward the third act, when they're starting to like, hey, we're going to kill our mom. And, Mario Lanza's music is played, it takes on an ironic tone.
Oh yeah. Also, it's funny because you've talked about with Mickey and Mallory and with Kit in Badlands, the idea of some of these characters who see the world as NPCs, like except for the person they love. It's like everyone else, they don't even really see them as real people.
Yeah, it's sort of this sort of this solipsistic take. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Now, it's not the exact same thing for Juliet and Pauline. They feel persecuted by the world. They definitely feel like other people are real and they're keeping them down. But I think it's pointed that we eventually get the full look at like all these I put in my notes puppet people, but they're statue people, whatever, that these life-size versions of their little clay sculptures. But our first glimpse is when Juliet imagines the priest who's trying to pitch her when she's in the hospital, dragging him off and killing him.
So this character of the noble's son, like the deranged son who's killed like almost 60 people, and is just being cruel to his nursemaids ever since he was a child. And
even though, he's described as a child, but he looks like an adult and he looks like Orson Welles. So there's a whole
there's this whole merging going on. And he's stabbing psychiatrists and he's murdering priests and
So so again, it's not the same thing as far as like everyone's an NPC, but there is this like they have this fantasy world, and in it they have control over life and death, and that we could take out the people that we hate and feel are persecuting us in this world.
It's just so weird that like the fever pitch that they get to with their delusions, as far as like the solution is to kill Pauline's mother, as if removing her like is going to help Pauline get a passport. It won't. No. Or B, somehow Juliet's parents are going to allow her to go with Juliet right after her mom, actually, even if it was framed as an accident, like is dead. Like that somehow that is going to, within 2 days after that, everything will be solved and she'll be able to live this perfect life, is like a delusion unto itself, much less the murdering of her own mother. But like that actually solves anything, because it doesn't even, like if they got away with it, it wouldn't have solved anything.
It's so strange. Because it's like, and that's why you have to feel, you have to think, again, not letting them off the hook for the murder, but like something was seriously wrong, that like they could not think straight, that they just see her as the symbol to their problems, and if they can just get rid of that symbol, everything will be okay. It was interesting when I watched that Ann Perry interview that was from like 2006 maybe or something yesterday, and it's like the only thing she says in that about like, well, why did she do it, and she's like, well, I really believed my friend was going to kill herself if we didn't do this, which even in itself is like a crazy thing. Like, I think my friend's suicidal, and she says, if we don't kill her mom, she'll kill herself. So I have to help her kill her mom.
She did. So in her diary and in the voiceover here, she mentions like thinking she wants to commit suicide and end it all. Right. But again, a lot of that is presented in almost a cheeky manner, like the cadence of the voiceover and the way it's delivered, and the sort of the horror movie angles which the camera has tracking over Pauline while we hearing these words. It makes it seem very nonchalant, when it probably was obviously the case that she was that depressed she was going to take her own life. So right away with these two, there are a lot of relatable things here. Like honestly, like so many elements of this story are relatable in a coming of age way, as far as like things we've experienced in our own life and things we've seen played out in traditional storytelling style movies, as far as like their friendship opens each other up to new things, and Pauline finds herself doing things she never would have before, or at least being freer and not caring what other people think as much. As like they're running around in their underwear and a farmer sees them, and Pauline doesn't care, right? Like this is a new person. And then the idea of like liking a friend's parents and lifestyle more than your own, and sort of feeling humbled and humiliated by your own upbringing, and
that they have to have borders to help pay the bills,
and also like, you know, just the feeling like her mom's combing her hair in a way that maybe her mom doesn't, and they're allowed to have beautiful things, and they eat different food, and it's more exotic, and it feels like a permanent vacation when you're over there. And so like there are elements here that feel like we've all experienced parts of this, and but where it sort of diverges is this element of the fourth world, and the way that they both of them dangerously compartmentalize their trauma. Both of them coming from respective traumas, even just from their own childhood illnesses. That, you know, no one's in therapy here. No, I mean, it is interesting that Juliet's own mother is a marriage counselor, which is scandalous at the time, regardless. But and she is even sent to a psychiatrist. Like these are things that are already sort of blemishes on a family record, but no one's getting the care or concern that they're doing. And when we get into later on the pedophile aspect here of the lodger, who sort of quote unquote falls in love with Pauline and winds up taking her virginity, and the way that Pauline passively allows this to happen
and thinks about their world instead while it's happening.
But even well, so that's when they're actually having sex. But like even when he first comes into the room, right before the dad catches them together, she's rambling on as if they're at tea, or at the way that she does normally at the dinner table, annoying her parents and sibling, right? She's doing that as a way to, like, it's all to shield her brain from what's happening. It's all of these it's like these biological fail-safes and stopgaps that prevent her from being in the moment of trauma, and that takes on a even larger form again when he's committing statutory rape on her, and just being a sexual predator in all the gross ways. And like you said, she dissolves into her own fantasy world, and the reality interrupts her in a very awful way, you know, pulling her in and out of it. So and
then, you know, that part, you know, leads to certainly the part where her parents are directly the shittiest to her, you know, when her mom, you know, does say a lot of shit. You're a disgrace and you're nothing but a cheap little tart. And she does slap her, which I think is important because, again, in no way does her mom get what she deserves. And her mom ultimately is shown to be someone who loves her daughter and wants to help her, but seems completely helpless to, like, just cannot, you know, sort of fathom what she's going through. But you have to also show that, like, Pauline's sort of her delusion takes root from something. So it's like her mom treats her shitty because some parents sometimes have terrible moments, but
also, like, from there, operating on the thought of it being an explanation but not an excuse. Like, certain generations of parents, as we go through the years, like, this is the way that you did get treated. The way you got treated. This is a
14-year-old or 15, however she was at that point, you know, being caught. She's 14 at that point. Being caught in bed. That's, you know, her parents are, you know, not going to deal with it well. And she's going to get blamed for it, not the guy. And like, this pedophile gets to go free and go
assault other people in the future, and she gets to go to she gets the worst of it from her own family instead of like actual care and comfort and concern. But so that's the downside, is that, yeah, her parents are indicative of the era and aren't equipped and weren't raised themselves to be emotionally available in the ways that their children need, and obviously do things that are exactly opposite of what they should do in these certain situations. But also they don't leave. So they don't leave, right? So Juliet doesn't get this type of treatment. She doesn't get hit, but she gets abandoned.
Right.
So,
and her mom, Pauline's mom, there's a great moment where Pauline, because they just are fucking losing it that they might be separated, and she's in hysterics, and her mom is trying, she's like putting her hand out to her daughter, but doesn't really know what to do or say, because her daughter is just having complete meltdown, and she's upset. She's like upset. Her daughter's upset, but doesn't know how to help her, but wants to, versus like you're saying, it's like, Juliet's parents who just are like, we'll send her away. And also they very pointedly, because this is the time where they do have a doctor, talk. There's that whole part of the homosexuality, which like they talk about being like, which is like in terrible 1950s terms, is something that we're trying to like find a cure for, basically. But also when Mr.
phase,
when Juliet's dad talks about it, it's like the problem is like he's not even gonna look at it as like oh, we should help our daughters, they're going through something. It's just all about like there's a problem with your daughter, but our daughter, if she's sick, we'll just send her away. So they're just like, the Humes are just shitty in every way,
So there's the Juliet whose parents are absent, but then Pauline whose parents are present and wrong. So it works. It doesn't work out for either of them. And when you get parents at the time who are ill-equipped to deal with even basic teen angst and young girl concerns, being met with something that's unprecedented, like these two and their friendship. Like, what do you do? What can you do? Like, what is the actual right course of action? If this happens today, I'm sure that the parents would have to explore many different options, obviously, in a different, more enlightened way than it was 70 years ago. But there was never a point when Pauline's parents didn't want to fix change this, knowing well ahead of time that this was unhealthy, and figuring out what was happening. And it wasn't, it's one thing to look at, like at the time, being prejudiced against like them being perhaps gay and being lesbians and in love with each other. Like that's a whole different thing to deal with. This is something they're mistaking for that, because this is so much more. This is so different and dangerous, and the fact that they mistake it for that gives you an insight into what they thought about homosexuality at the time too.
But again, like Mr. Hume, when he talks to Pauline's parents, when there's the gay panic moment, it's like he's like, your daughter has an unwholesome attachment to Juliet, so it's even just projecting like onto her. Like, either they have, if they have a unwholesome isn't obviously the term we'd use. If they have an obsessive attachment to each other, which they clearly do, it's two-sided, but it's like, the Humes are just sort of like tunnel vision people. They suck.
They suck. I
do like when the, do you like girls? No, why not? They're silly, but Juliet's not silly. Sort of when they're trying to hone in with her.
It was just hyper fixated on an individual. Like it's not. It's not.
Oh, and do you think I was like, I was like, I put this in my notes. I'm like, did Peter Jackson copy Candyman? Because it's very similar when Pauline is talking to the doctor. And
and like its sword comes from behind. And
and her Although, of course, it didn't really happen.
I don't know. He would have been well versed in the horror movies of the day. So
yeah, I mean, even if it was subconscious, Candyman was 2 years before this, so it felt funny to me that it's a very very similar moment for like even what's happening, like talking to a doctor who doesn't know what the fuck's really going on, and you kind of loathe him, and then this person.
And then there was the part where they looked in the mirror and they said Orson Welles 5 times, and then
then I was like, okay, maybe this is pretty similar.
All right. So yeah, I mean, we sort of skipped over like that. Juliet had, she at one point, basically, she has a few meltdowns. The first of which, learning that her parents are leaving for a few weeks, and that just triggers her. And the second, which is shortly afterwards, when she actually discovers she has tuberculosis on a lung and has to be put in a TB ward for months at a time, while her parents leave her again. And there's that whole moment where she's like, the mom's like, we don't have to stay. We have to, we can.
Totally guilts her.
Yeah, totally. Just being the shittiest as far as like, we're making her basically
we
say,
can cancel our travel arrangements if that's what you want. But not in any way being like, we should drop everything to be with our daughter is coughing up blood. Maybe
she could die while we're gone. Yeah.
Right.
So
maybe we should stick around. But this is when like them being separated is really what shows how obsessed they are, because this is when Pauline writes about, it would be wonderful if I can get tuberculosis too. And they just being separated, they're so despondent. And when they're reunited, they're just like, euphoric. Like they're just like, beside themselves that they can actually see each other.
It's the feeling of like, I'm not whole unless you're with me. It's you complete me. It's the Jerry Maguire.
Oh yeah. And Juliet's jealous hearing about the tenant, the creepy tenant. She doesn't like that, when she's telling her like, oh, this guy's in love with me.
Well, it's sort of like a combination of like, the fact that we're not exactly sure. It's like she's romantically jealous, but also
it doesn't matter though. It's
that
like,
there's an interloper. There's a third person who doesn't belong here, and also being protective of Pauline as far as just wanting to keep her safe and sound and close to her. But yeah, I'm trying to think here. And how old was Melanie Lynskey when she filmed this?
I feel like they were both like 16-ish, but I could be completely making that up.
Well, wasn't she topless?
Not really, because they shoot it in a way that she could be wearing like a tube.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just it's shot like top up, like in a way that I'm sure she was wearing something.
All right.
But also this is when like when they are reunited, a couple things start happening. It's funny because it's the simultaneous thing of realizing how shitty Mr. Hume is at this point, as he starts getting all terrible with like the unwholesome attachment and all, doesn't like seeing them holding hands. But also this is when Pauline starts calling him daddy. And so it's like her projection of, well, they're the better parents. I just wish they were that we could be together and they're our parents, as we see in their, on the boat that they have this.
And the funny thing is that that's all Pauline's projection, because while everyone's talking about how, unwholesome and obsessive these two are with their friendship, you've got Juliet's entire family falling apart. First deciding to live together as a threesome, which, if we're talking about things that would be scandalous in the 1950s, that would be like, that's, is that more scandalous than divorce? Probably, but it's not that, they're both scandalous. And the fact that he's allowed to leave the university that he's at, with sort of glowing reviews in a speech, as even though that they're getting divorced, and they're sort of they're sort of untouchable as far as social moral scandals go. But it's the whole thing of like, they're just none of these parents, especially we're talking about Juliet's parents, none of these parents are going to basically look at themselves and say, well, maybe we're the problem, and this is everything we're doing is severely damaging to our daughter, and the way that she has relationships with other people.
I have to mention, because they're all real quotes from Pauline's diary, she did have a way with words. I mean, as much as it's crazy to say we are so brilliantly clever and maybe mean it, it's a great statement, but also like a couple that really stood out to me. Again, grim, but like eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you could be dead. And then a great one just for like because she'll mix in a lot of words. In fact, at one point she says WWE's favorite word, stupendous.
She does.
It's the most
stupendous, murderous WrestleMania of all time.
Yes. But she also says when they have their big talk with Mr. Hume, and she's still idealizing him, talking about the divorce, and then he's also asking about what's this about your going to Hollywood together. She says he was both hope-giving and depressing. Which again, Lynskey delivers the hell out of in VO, but it's just a clever phrase, clever turn of words there.
Eat, drink, and be merry. Let's eat, drink. Well, let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die is from the Bible, just so you know.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, but also I think the Heavenly Creatures poem was hers.
Yes.
Like from her diary. Yeah.
It was the word heavenly. Again, I was reading some more excerpts that are out there, and the word heavenly is used a lot. Like it just seemed to be a go-to word, but the whole what heavenly creatures are we? That was hers. And it's a great, it's such a good, it's a great title for something. They use it for a movie.
It may not be from the Bible. Don't quote me on that. Don't Bible quote me.
Okay.
But it's from something. It's plucked from something ye olde, from a philosopher who knows. All right. Melanie Lynskey and Kate Winslet are so good in this movie that, like I mentioned at the top, they spend so much of this movie crying and screaming and just carrying on a scene, but it's always believable, and it's always like such a present moment that you're just fascinated and worried for both of them the entire time. That for two of them to cause so much, and that's what I think the script does such a good job of, like showing their respective home lives and how that sort of trickles down into who they are as characters and why they react the way they do. Like it does so much to texturize and humanize what could have been way more of like a sort of a simple and sordid story. Does that make sense? Like
no, it totally makes sense. And yeah, it goes hand in hand. I mean, the script and their performances with, because there is the version of this that is just like annoying, and because they're going over the top, not the performances. I mean, these girls, because they are having these nuclear meltdowns as the movie goes on, and screaming, as you said early on, it's this weird mixture of pleasure and pain. But then as it goes on, they're both so distraught about being separated, and they're screaming and yelling. But their performances are so great at like grounding it and being like, this is real to them. Like this horror, this despair that we will be separated is like a primal feeling for both of them. Again, to an extent that should be worrisome and should go seek help. But that is a very real emotion for them, that they will, misinterpret and do a terrible thing, and trying to fix in a way that would never fix it. So yeah, it's a very good script as far as how it manages to intermix so many crazy different elements with what's going on here. And then these two young actresses pulling it all off so well.
And then the added element that would become like something extremely useful for the Lord of the Rings films in the future, but like the fantasy world, there's the cool tracking shot going through the sandcastle. Mm-hmm. And the element here of the fourth world being sort of a garden that has unicorns and fountains, and it's just lovely in every way, is an escape for them. It's a sanctuary. It's a mental sanctuary that they have sort of constructed, where as the movie progresses, the roses grow thorns, right? Or at least the thorns get bigger and bigger, and everything winds up being sort of basically creating like this fence. Everything becomes sort of not just to protect them, but also like to avenge them and to sort of like carry out their, like the fantasy starts becoming more violent, as we noted with the one son character Gollum who's murdering the people in their way, and so their fantasy world starts to take on this really sort of insidious avenging form, whereas once it was this paradise, then it starts becoming this funhouse mirror version of itself, where by the end there's this whole pageantry where they're declaring that they're mad, like we have gone crazy here, and this is now sort of a psychotic midway and no longer the secret garden. You know what I mean? Like this is Looney Tunes, and it is where we are safe and free, but now it is also a dangerous place.
And directorially speaking, it's like early on you might miss you, or you might not be thinking about, like when they're sharing their stories about their being sick kids, like, oh, Pauline's parents are with her, Juliet's are not. But by, as the movie progresses, Jackson is being purposefully unsubtle about, the fact that Pauline is describing Mr. Hume as the noblest and most wonderful person I've ever known, while we see him watching so ominously. And, it's like the camera doesn't lie that he is not the most noble and wonderful person. But they're just at this point, she is not thinking straight in any way.
There is one scene in this movie, I could be completely wrong, but it's the one that stands out in my mind, that doesn't feature Pauline or Juliet. And it's when Mr. Hume goes to talk to Pauline's parents, and that is another moment that feels like there's thunder and lightning outside and rain, and like it's straight from like sort of a haunted house.
I think the only other scene I can think of is when Juliet's mother meets Mr. Perry, I believe. When she's we see her with clients, and then
but that's sort of like a flashback. But I know what you mean.
Yeah, but I think but as far as like a full
that's
scene,
like a Family Guy cutaway, Eric.
or 30 Rock. But yes, that definitely plays horror-y, and at this point, especially because the Parkers feeling like good meaning people who are kind of I say simple, not like they're simple folk, but they're just
simple Jack.
No, they're not simple Jack. They're just regular people trying to deal with the world. But that, Mr. Hume kind of coming in as an ominous presence.
But and I guess this extends to Juliet's parents too. But just like the way it's like, perhaps she can spend 3 weeks with us before we leave, and then like, hey, and the day before they're gonna go, we're gonna go on a picnic. Like the parents still like go out of their way, perhaps knowing like that something could come to a really dangerous head if they don't, but still like they really do try to like extend as many olive branches that they can when they're not being terrible. And so which is also making like the final few minutes of this movie even more agonizing, as far as like her mom is like really is trying to like make her daughter feel better.
Oh yeah.
And doing something nice for her because she knows that she's going through a hard time and doesn't know how to do. And this is a daughter who has not spoken to her in weeks and has cut her out of her life completely. Like both of these girls cut everyone out of their lives, and yet everyone's still bending over backwards to try to figure out how to appease them in any way possible. And like just that moment when she sort of urges and her mom to have the like final piece of cake during tea, and like, oh, it's so terrible. So terrible.
It's terrible. It's awful.
And then
wonderfully awful.
You mentioned just sort of the tension of them walking on the trail, and like, of us watching and wondering what's going to happen, or if they're going to go through with it. Is it going to work? Is it going to fuck up completely? And it's all like just the screams of the mother, and like everything comes crashing down. And all of a sudden you're watching true crime. Like up until that point, there's a dance going on, right? Like, and then all of a sudden the music stops and the lights go up, and it's like, it's over. It's so stark and jarring, and just like, it does exactly what it's supposed to do.
Oh yeah. It always seems funny to say like it's one of my favorites about something so dark, but it's like it is one of my favorite like final sequences of a movie. It's so expertly done. That just, as we've talked about, this juxtaposition, the feeling of dread, and the fact that it is going to be, because they could have done this a lot, they could have shown this a lot less explicitly, but it feels like I think it's completely the right way to do it, because it is like, real world smashing down in a very brutal way here, with everything that they have built up in their minds. Nope, it's like none of this is real. This isn't going to help them. This is just going to murder someone, and solidify that they are not going to ever be together.
That's the thing. It's like it's like they could have lived their lives and eventually seen each other again.
Right.
Like they could have had a ongoing relationship for decades. And like, in a few years, they would both be adults and could do whatever the hell they wanted. But
right.
So they fucked it all up, Eric. And then Mario Lanza gets to sing "You'll Never Walk Alone," which I really only know as there's a pop rock version of it that's been covered many, many times. There's a Roy Orbison one that I know very well. Mm-hmm. He covered this song along with dozens of other people, but this is Mario Lanza's more cinematic, operatic version of the song. I don't know. I don't know what ground zero is for the song, like if he originated or someone else, but it fits perfectly. Because you know what, they will walk alone. How about that? And it's not like Godsmack's "Walk Alone" either, that Batista used to come out to.
Or Green Day. Walk Alone. It's Walk Alone, but it's Green Day's.
You're thinking of "Boulevard of Broken Dreams," which that's a lyric in the song. Yeah,
it's lyric in the song. Yeah. I mean, we've reached the end here, but it's like there's a couple things just about like them kind of trying to convince themselves, like Juliet being like, your mother's a rather miserable woman, isn't she? And how like just I think she knows it's coming, and she's both of them. Pauline writes about that too. Just kind of convince themselves this is all meant to be. Fantastic film. A couple little final things I had here to say. We didn't mention last week in Badlands, Terrence Malick's cameo, on-screen cameo,
which, unlike Peter Jackson, who appears in this movie and his other movies, wasn't intended. It was. I can't remember the reason the actor couldn't show up.
Got sick or something, and so he played the guy who shows up when they are at the rich man's house. Only reason I thought of that because right after we finished last week, I thought, we never talked about that, and I meant to. But Peter Jackson playing the bum they kiss after they go to see a Mario Lanza movie. At one point in the film. Mm-hmm. Also during my deep dives this week, so Anne Perry, Juliet, became a Mormon later in life, very active in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And again, some people were pointing out, like, the weird way people decide to tell stories. There was some write-up, like, because she's very involved and active with the church, and there was like a write-up about her on some site, like from a Mormon church site, talking about the great work she's done with them and all this. And it's like just such a weird thing because it's telling her it's a bio. And so it's like, but it skips over a few crucial years, Matt. It's like she was ill as a child. And then it says about how she finished or started college late. And they literally make it sound like it's because she had been sick as a kid. They do not explain what was happening that would stop her from starting college when most people
so it wasn't first-degree murder.
Right. It wasn't. Like, they don't even mention she lived in New Zealand, much less was in jail. They each got 5 years. And of course, you can talk about, was that way too little versus shouldn't they have gotten proper mental help? That's a whole other conversation.
Well, you know what they say, we didn't see the end of that tourism video at the end, but it ends with what happens in Christchurch stays in Christchurch.
Yeah. Because we're just not going to talk about it. But that was fascinating to see this like write-up that just like, again, the surprise people must, and still to this day, because it is something people discover all the time. And I saw people writing yesterday, like, my mom introduced me to Anne Perry's books. I've read all of them. What the fuck? Like, you're like, this happened. But looking at all that aside, and by the way, Anne Perry, for what it's worth, denies that was a sexual component. And who knows? They took her, again, they extrapolated from Pauline's diary,
the diaries,
and all that stuff about acting out the saints and discovering the joy of sin and all that. It doesn't matter, though. I think ultimately, again, like the movie is not a movie about like a homosexual relationship. It's a movie about an obsessive relationship.
Yeah. So when we were like killer couples, this bends the rule on that in a certain way. It does differ pretty greatly from the first 3 movies we watched. In theme, even though you can argue that the first 3 movies you watched were all very different in their own right. But man, I would love to see Lynskey and Winslet work together at some point on something again.
Oh, me too. Yeah, it's such a. I mean, because this movie. This movie, like it was a success for the size movie it was. Miramax released it when they were very good at releasing these kind of movies, and
and also that it was like the way A24 is now, where it's like, oh, what's the new Miramax? Like,
right.
They were the buzzbin of the time.
And it got a screenplay nomination. I mean, I would argue it should have gotten more, but it still got, for a movie that was not like one of the, talked about movies going into that Oscar season. But it's still a movie that a ton of people haven't seen. And no
one's made it easy to see. So.
And no, these days, no one is making it easy to see. So if you were watching this for the first time, I hope some people saw it for the first time. I hope they liked it.
If you did, email us and let us know what you thought, or tweet at us, or do the Twitter machine.
Email us at We Enjoy Podcast, right? Is that our at gmail.com? Yes, I set it up. Yeah,
I only say it every week too. So
and you only say it every week too. But yeah, I hadn't watched it in a while. I mean, I've seen this movie many times, but I hadn't seen it in a few years until I watched it 2 nights ago. And it's just like 100% holds up. Trish does not like, and she will own this, she doesn't like movies ending depressing. So, and I said to her, there's so much of this movie you'd really like. Like, I know you'd like appreciate like what they're doing.
Do you tell them that a guy sings to a fish? Tell her that. Yeah.
She does like Twin Peaks. But yeah, the end of it kind of rules it out for her. I mean, she let me tell her all about it, but great movie. Like I said, one of my all-time favorites.
But what if you just tell her that one of the girls grew up to be a famous author?
I know, I did tell her that.
Okay, well that's how it ends.
Because she actually I wondered if she'd read any of her stuff. She had not. I think she had heard of her. Again, if you look at how many books she has, it's a fucking shitload. But yeah, so
Anne or Trish?
And Perry. Okay. Trish has not written any books, but she reads.
No, you said just had books. I was like, okay.
Oh no, well, on her Kindle, I think she does have a lot. I don't know.
All right. That's it for Heavenly Creatures. I hope you enjoyed our dive into that one, and I hope you, as many flaming hoops as you had to jump through to watch it. We did stay away to watch it last week, which was it dubbed or subtitled in Spanish on YouTube? But yeah,
it was subtitled in Spanish. So the movie was in its original.
It's in English, so yeah, you can actually just watch it. But you just ignore the Spanish writing on the bottom.
Yeah, read it if you want to.
But yeah, so next week is Thoroughbreds. A little easier to obtain, though not still the easiest. The easiest by far is to watch Fringe or Raised by Wolves on HBO Max.
On HBO Max, yes.
And until then. Everything's possible, but nothing is real except the fourth world, Eric. Except the fourth world and Shakma.
Shakma.
Shakma!